Hello again, Virgo. It's Dadhichi here from astrology.com.au. Hope that's not too distracting. I'll sit my head in front of it and you can watch the stars pouring out of my ears. It's an interesting month because, well, it's a good month to start with because your ruling planet, Mercury, is indeed in the sign of Virgo, your sun sign this month, which endows it with considerable intellectual and physical strength as well. When the ruling planet moves through the sign that it owns, or is friendly, or is its exaltation sign, which it rules and is also exalted in the sign of Virgo, then we see an upswing in the opportunities and the general affairs of people born under that particular star sign. And so we also see, as the month commences, the adverse, or somewhat adverse placement of Venus in Virgo, which is actually quite opposite to Mercury. We see that Venus loses a bit of its power there. Venus and Mercury are friendly, so it's a friendly sign for Venus, but it doesn't have the same quality. It functions much better. Its best sign is the water sign, and here we find it in the earth sign, which is your ruling sign. So relationships are likely to be a little bit of a snag this month. You may feel a little bit disappointed, but that's nothing to be too alarmed about. Venus moves rather quickly through the signs. And you have the imminent conjunction of Mercury with Jupiter later in the month, around the 22nd. But that's very lucky, by the way, and it impacts favourably on your relationships. But first things first, because we see an important new moon taking place in your 12th house. That's the conjunction of the moon with the sun in the most spiritual sector of your horoscope. Now this can help redefine the way you enjoy your own company, actually. This 12th house is a house of, it's a secretive house, it's a charitable house, it's a spiritual house, it's the house of reclusiveness and withdrawal. So the new moon here is an interesting one and not always easy to fathom. It is showing us a new angle on your spirituality and new insights into yourself, but that has to come through a withdrawal of your senses and your attachments to the world around you. And whilst you're attached to all these things, you're not going to see as clearly as you would otherwise. So it's important, and this takes place after the 3rd, and that 15-day cycle up till the 18th, when we see the full moon eclipse taking place in your 6th house, is tied in with that. The 12th house, apart from being withdrawal, is a recovery sector. So this is telling me a lot of you born under the sign of Virgo need some time to recover, to get away from everything. And if you can't do that, we see the swinging moon coming back around to the 6th house, which is disease, health issues, debts. They can be karmic debts as well. And in fact, this month they will most certainly be karmic debts because of the fact that the full moon this month is an eclipse. The eclipses take place on the nodal axis, and the north and south nodes have to do with our past and future karma. So this is very telling, and what it means is that you have to give yourself adequate time to rest, to recover, to recuperate. Now this doesn't only mean recovery of a physical nature, because we now know very much so medically that the emotional and mental state that we are in has everything to do with the way we feel physically. So these are little signals, these are little precursors. If you're not listening to your body signals, then the point I'm making here this month, Virgo, is that full moon eclipse may come back and bite you on the proverbial backside. Take note. Heed the warning of the transits and these eclipses. They are important messages for you. The other big transit I've been talking about, and if you looked at my introductory video, we were talking about the conjunction of Mars and Saturn. In your case, if we look at the Virgo horoscope, this is taking place in your fourth house. Fourth house is your family. It's real estate, cars, fixed assets. It's also, believe it or not, one's inner peace of mind. We, as astrologers, we talk about this fourth house having to do with the physical home, the residence, the bricks and mortar. But in fact, as they say, home is where the heart is. So according to the Eastern astrologers, this fourth house, one of the cornerstones of the horoscope, has a lot to do with peace of mind and how, the condition of your heart. The spiritual heart is what I'm talking about. A lot of Western astrologers aren't aware of that. They take, the ninth house or the 12th house, some even the 5th house, as being the spiritual edifice of the horoscope. But the 4th house shows one's peace of mind. And isn't it interesting how intimately linked our peace of mind is, our adjustment or maladjustment is to the early patterns of our upbringing? Because the 4th house has to do with the mother. It has to do with your early upbringing. This one conjunction, Mars and Saturn, is very prevalent. I've seen in my collection of over 10 or 15,000 horoscopes of many people who've had adoption, been adopted at birth, been fostered out, or who have lived with a surrogate or some other extended member of the family. So it is a conjunction of separation from your family and from what makes you feel comfortable and at peace within yourself. So what do you do with this, I guess, is the question. My suggestion is you focus on the peace of mind rather than the things outside you that you think are going to give you the peace of mind. That's the big mistake we all make, chasing the buck, chasing the prestige, the jobs. I mean, we have to do all of that stuff. But when you rest your total happiness on these externalities, that is where you're in for a rude shock. And I would suggest to you that these are the sorts of areas this month that need to be looked at fairly and squarely. Just quickly, let's have a look at some of these aspects. The 6th of August, the right angle of Mercury to Saturn, leading up to that makes you a little bit slow in terms of your decision-making process. On the 8th, the opposition to Neptune, confused. The trine to Pluto, determined. So determined but confused and slow. These are all the contradictions this month, Virgo. You have to be careful. Later in the month we see the conjunction, as I said, on the 22nd with Jupiter. That opens things up beautifully. It's an excellent communication pattern. Also an advertising pattern if you've got something to sell. And we did say that the position of Mars and Saturn in your 4th house of property, this could be the time when you're looking at perhaps offloading some real estate or some other fixed asset. This is probably the best time to do it, leading up, say, 15th, 16th to the 22nd, when Mercury and Jupiter produce one of the finest combinations available to you. So that looks good. Looks like allowing you a nice end of the month. Be careful around the 26th, that Mars in Sagittarius comes to the square of Neptune. Again, we talked about health. This could be to do with drugs or other sorts of foods that you're allergic to. Just read the instructions. Don't mix even drinks. It's a time of the month when you could be rather vulnerable, susceptible to any sort of chemicals or even environmental allergic reactions. Look forward to your company next month. Don't forget to join me at astrology.com.au. You can find out more about this month, and I look forward to seeing you here for your September reading. Take care now.